In this video, I'm going to show you how to create cinematic sci-fi renders in Blender. Let's go. So first of all, the model, it was created in plasticity, and I have a video that teaches you how to create this corridor step by step. So go ahead and watch it. I'm going to post this time on the screen, and the link is in the video description. Now, there are a few changes that I've made after I created this corridor, okay? So the corridor itself was this bit, right? Without the ceiling, by the way. This one is not included in the tooth, okay? So the tooth basically teaches you how to make this one. Now, the ceiling is super easy. It's just a cube cut with a light. Just make it yourself. It's super easy, right? And what I've done is I, kind of arrayed this 3 times by duplicating everything. And I removed in this middle one, in the middle part, one of these boxes, and I replaced the left-hand side of this door, the box with pipes. Because, see, what it does, it creates this kind of like an asymmetry, right? It breaks the symmetry, breaks the array of these elements, and breaks the monotony and boredom of, kind of repetitive kind of a nature of all these elements, right? So the ceiling is the same, the floor is the same, but the wall breaks and is different, right? Another reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to put a human in here. So I needed some kind of a space, clean space without any distractions around them to be able to fit him in. And I wanted this sign here as well. Now, see, the human is really important because the door is offset a bit to the left, right? And also the angle is slightly tilted. And the door is a main subject, but I wanted to offset this door with something on the right hand side, especially that we got these 2 massive, pretty heavy elements here on the left hand side, these 2 boxes, right? So the human acts as a counterweight for the left hand side of the image. You see this part of the image is quite heavy here, right? And this image, there's a break and there's a human. A human provides a lot of visual weight. We're always going to be drawn to human figures, faces, etc. Now, text as well is quite important, and we're going to be drawn to text as well, which is why I popped 2 texts on both sides of the door and included this little thing here on the floor to create a triangle and sort of bring a bit more weight to the left, because this text is quite, quite juicy, plus it's amplified by the human as well. Also, we have more emissive matte on the right-hand side than on the left-hand side. So this side was quite heavy visually, so I needed to, put another element here on the bottom to offset this. The door is interesting. There's only, the only warm element in the entire image is above the door, the light. It's a warm emission, and the rest is kind of like in a bluish, military tone, right? Next, we got these lights on the bottom here, which triangulate the whole door. So they kind of lock the door in a triangular, sort of like a framing, and make you focus on the door. In addition, if you're going to look at the lights here, they create an inverse triangle, right? So the middle of the door and these lights here on the top create an inverse triangle. So you got a really intense focus on the door. Then you got 2 arrows pointing at the door. So one is pointing from left, one is pointing from right. And also the human is looking from the right hand side of the image to the left towards the door. So you're gonna be bounced between these elements and kind of, sort of pushed towards the door and forced to explore the door, the door design. Now, the door design couldn't be too simple, because if it was too simple, you would not be really interested in looking at it. So I needed to create multiple layers to bring you into the image. So the door kind of brings you closer and then breaks the symmetry, which is interesting because it breaks the symmetry in a very similar way that the image does. Because if you look at this, right, this element here imitates this part, and this element here imitates the soldier, right? It's a subtle, barely visible thing if you don't think about it, but it's there, and it's really working fantastic because it amplifies, kind of re-emphasizes the composition from the outside and pushes it to the inside. Okay, now that's the composition, right? Another thing is, what I've done is I removed this decal here from the render, because if you go here, you see it's gone, because that actually caused a lot of pull. I didn't want that. I wanted clean floor. I wanted a clean triangle here, and this was actually ruining my composition. Okay, now let's talk about the camera and the angle. Okay, so camera is 35 millimeters, right, on the full frame sensor, which is 35 millimeters as well, sensor width. And this is a wide angle lens for shooting interiors, which kind of creates interesting, angles. And you need to be careful with 35 or below, because when you're going to tilt the camera up, your angle is going to start distorting. Look what's going to happen when I'm going to click on the door here and click on lock to view, and I'm going to move the camera a little bit down, right, the whole view. You see what's going to happen is I'm going to get this kind of like a keystone effect, right? Everything going to start distorting and kind of widening towards the top. So my camera angle here is quite neutral. It's I'm shooting at the, you have to now think in terms of humans, yeah, on the level of the navel of the door. Okay, so belly button of the door. If you thought that the door is a human, which is how I think when I'm shooting things, I don't think in terms of doors, cars, whatever. It's, for me, it's always a person. There's a face, there's a back, there's a belly button. You see what I mean? If you break it down this way, you'll catch us. Let me just go to Photoshop. It's gonna be easy to explain. Here, the framing catches the corner of the ceiling padding just above the light, so it doesn't cut on the light, cuts above the light, which is important because it gives the light a bit of a buffer, a bit of a breathing space. You have more information here on the right hand side, so you know the ceiling kind of goes up and continues forward, right, above his head. And the floor is very calm, very uniform, nothing sensational. The entire focus goes onto the door, right? So that's the camera framing. It's really simple, like I said, on the door's navel level. And I'm trying to avoid all the distortions. You see that the edge of the frame of my image aligns with the pipes going from the top to bottom, so it's really straight, right? On the left hand side too, it's straight. Now it's a little bit tilted horizontally, so I'm not shooting, it's not a deadpan shot, it's actually slightly moved to the right? This introduces a bit more dynamic feel to it, breaks the symmetry even deeper, and kind of gives this human a bit more space to live in, okay? A bit more space to exist in. You see there is more space underneath, more space above him. It makes him look smaller visually. It makes the door look more prominent and more intimidating, taller, right? So this whole structure looks more grandiose and the human looks a bit smaller. It's an optical illusion, but it's really interesting. If I push this camera the other way, this wouldn't work, okay? Because the human will be smaller and the left hand side will be bigger. There's nothing for me to show you or like to anchor you to. I want you to anchor first on the human and then immediately go to the door, right? So that's your framing. Now let's talk about the lighting, okay? Now if you want to push your skills further and you're getting stuck on your own and you don't have anyone to ask for help, then consider joining our Hard Service Academy program. It's fantastic. We helped over 700 students to get through that program already and they get fantastic results. You can see testimonials on the page. Go to blenderbros.com/academy, or simply go to our page on BlenderBros and look at testimonials. We have over 1,000 testimonials on our website. They're all screenshots and they all come from students who got real results. Academy is for anyone who needs personalized coaching. We offer you lifetime access to 5 massive curriculums, which are gonna help you with lighting, composition, design, portfolio, and mindset. And in addition, we offer you live calls. You can join, share your projects, ask questions. There's also a dedicated Discord server when you can ask questions, DM us, tag us, whatever, when you get stuck. So you get help on demand, which is unbelievably helpful, and you're going to be progressing way faster than on your own. So the program is called the Hard Service Academy. Go to blenderbros.com/academy to learn more. The link is also in the video description. Lighting is super simple, and I don't have any HDRI in this scene, zero, okay? There's no HDRI I can show you. So the only light in the scene are the area lights, okay? See, there's no HDRI, okay? So these lights, okay, the area lights are the only lights in the scene, right? So if I'm going to grab these lights and I'm going to, nuke them, right? You will see that they lighting the scene. Now, obviously we get emission because when you have lights, you also need to add emission. Now, these emissions on these don't have any additional lights. I thought it was just enough light in the scene, and these area lights provide enough light for me to light it. Now, I'm obviously using a hex, which is a hex I ask Claude for. I love working with AI on hexes. They're very accurate. And I also ask him for the red hex for the door to give me a hex that's going to be corresponding, going to be complementary to the blue hex. And he gave me the hex for the door for this light, and it's fantastic. So the door has a different hex, right? It's, it's kind of like a warm color, right? Now, another thing is that all these hexes for the emissions and for the lights are the same. And also the same hexes for my volumetric, because you see that we have this cube here, right? There's simply a cube around my scene, and this cube is a volumetric cube. So let me just go back here. It's a volumetric cube and I have nodes attached to it, so I'm going to show you, right? So let's go to volumetrics here. So let's go to shade editor, and there you go. These are my volumetrics. Very simple. Okay, it's just a regular material added here, so the BSDF matte, and I'm running principled volume with the same hex for the color as for the lights, and the density is really small. Okay, it's really low, right? So there you go. That's the volumetrics, and this adds a lot of interesting drama to the image. Without it, you're gonna look a little bit more, you know, kind of more dull. This sort of really brings the light together, kind of creates this kind of like a meaty light. Okay, more dense, milky. You can almost touch it, right? It's tangible. So that's the volumetrics, and now mattes. Okay, now mattes are basically from our add-on MaterialWorks. So I simply used two mattes. One of them I think is coated titanium, and the other one is I forgot what it was, graphite steel. And I added some wear to them. So I added some dents, some edge wear, and some dust. And the floor has some rust on it. So, you know, it's oh, the walls have some rust and the floor has some dust. Okay, so there are two mattes. The darker matte is on the door, you know, on this matte here on the doorway, then these, right, and the floor, and that's it. And the rest is brighter color. So you have this kind of like a, you know, the door is re-emphasized by the color, so you're gonna get pulled inside the door because it's darker, right? The darker color is gonna pull you in, so you got this kind of a brighter framing, arrows pointing in, and the door pulls you inside because it's darker, and then you spill here onto the floor, right? So that's basically the mattes, and a link to the add-on is in the video description. Also, with our add-on MaterialWorks, you can add all these lovely decals. There's you know, 890 decals, and we also offer 20 plus trim sheets with it, which is crazy because you got all these trims you can run on your mesh, and you know, and they're fantastic. Okay, so that all comes with the add-on. Like I said, link is in the video description. The add-on is called MaterialWorks. It's fantastic. Right, so now let's talk about Photoshop, because, you know, Photoshop is important, and without editing this picture in Photoshop, you're not gonna really have a proper render. Okay, so post-processing your renders is essential. You really have to learn how to do it, and I'm gonna prove it to you and show you the difference between the original render and the render that's finished. You see the difference? You may say it's subtle, but that 20% is going to bring you above anyone else on ArtStation that just slaps renders and puts them on, you know, willy-nilly. Okay, so let's break it down. All right, so first of all, what I've done is I created a bit of contrast and clarity. I use clarity from, you know, from Camera Raw, and bumped it a little bit up. And then I added some fog using brushes, and I was using brushes from envato.com. I have custom brushes. I was using mist brushes. There's a pack that's called 100 mist brushes. They're fantastic. You literally, you know, you grab a brush, and all you do is just, you know, you click once and you got a fog, you know what I mean? And then you just lower the opacity and Bob's your uncle, right? Then I added another one and sort of masked it, so it kind of spills in the corners. And then I started working with the Pro Contrast and Color Effects Pro from Nick Collection. So it's a paid plugin. So I was working here with my favorite plugins like Pro Contrast and the gradient tool here, so the cross processing. And I was using these, and then I added some vignette around it. And finally, the last touch was Oniric. Okay, and Oniric is a plugin from Composite Nation. So if you want to buy it, grab it. It's a fantastic plugin that's going to allow you to add bloom with one click to whatever the hell you want. It's really easy, and it's going to really sci-fi the hell up your renders, because that bloom is fantastic. Okay, especially when you're using volumetrics and you pop a bloom, it looks brilliant. You could do it in Blender, but honestly, why bother if you can do it here? right? And then I did, oh no, this one is, and that's it, okay? Now the soldier is from a fantastic asset pack from Jovan Jurabaev. The link is in the video description. They produce incredible asset packs for Blender. I mean, they're just top notch. I haven't seen anything better than this on ArtStation anywhere else. It's amazing, and you can get it on Gumroad. And there you go. That's how you create very simple cinematic renders. That's how you can bring a regular shot and make it really special. So if you're gonna spend some time on it, you know, you're going to take like an hour or something to really pamper it, put some decals, put some mats, put some lights, you know, put some volumetrics, bring it to Photoshop and pamper it a bit more, add some layers onto it, you know, some contrast, etc. You're gonna get some really simple but really fantastic looking images that you can present on your ArtStation and you know, attract some clients or some following, right? So anyway, that's it for the video, and if you enjoyed it, then check this one out. I'm gonna be breaking down a render of one of our students from the Hard Service Academy. Judith is a fantastic 2D artist, and she was transferring to 3D, and we helped her with this, and she created a beautiful, amazing, you know, massive scene of a sci-fi hangar with a ship, and it's absolutely brilliant. And I'm breaking this render down, and we kind of working on it and improving stuff and talking about it. So you're gonna learn a ton. Watch this video if you really want to learn more about rendering, composition, and lighting. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.